The frozen signals now covered the ground like a white ocean. The wind howled across the dead planet, making sharp, icy sounds. This world, called Varela 7, had been forgotten for years. Nothing lived here. No ships came. No messages were sent. Only silence. Until now. Inside a small command center on a space station orbiting nearby, a young technician named Leah stared at her screen. She blinked, then blinked again. "Commander," she said, her voice shaking. "We just picked up a signal. It's from Varela 7. The room went quiet. Commander Harris walked over and looked at the screen. The signal was weak, broken, but clear enough to read one thing. User Dr. Elena Ward. Status: active. Harris frowned. "That's not possible," he whispered. Dr. Elena Ward had gone missing 7 years ago on a research mission to Varela 7. Her team never returned. The search had failed. Everyone believed she had died in the storm. "Maybe it's a glitch," someone said. "Maybe," Harris replied. "Or maybe she's still alive." Within hours, a small rescue ship called the Falcon was sent to the planet. A team of 4 soldiers and 1 science officer landed near the source of the signal. The wind hit them hard. Snow stung their faces, but they pushed forward, following the signal. After an hour of walking through frozen hills, they saw it, a half-buried ship, its hull broken, ice growing over the cracks. It was Elena's old research vessel. They entered carefully. Inside, everything was dark. The power was low. Frost covered the walls. Equipment was broken. Silence filled every corner. Until, "Over here," shouted one of the soldiers. In the medical bay, they found a pod. Inside it, a woman. Her eyes were closed. Her hair was long, tangled. She looked peaceful. Too peaceful. "It's her," whispered the science officer. "Dr. Elena Ward." "She's breathing," said a soldier. "But she's not aged a day." Suddenly her eyes opened, bright blue, glowing faintly. Everyone froze. Elena slowly sat up. Her voice was soft but clear. "You came too late. Dr. Ward, you're safe now," the science officer said. "We're here to help you." She shook her head. "You don't understand," she said. "I wasn't alone." They looked at each other, confused. "What happened to your team?" the commander asked. She didn't answer directly. "They watched us," she said. "They studied us. And then they tested me." "Who are they?" She looked out the window at the storm outside. "They live in the snow, in the silence, not from this world. They are the ones who decide." "Decide what?" "If we are ready." Suddenly her hand began to glow. Strange symbols appeared on her skin, floating like light, then disappeared just as quickly. "What was that?" a soldier shouted, stepping back. "It's the message," Elena said. "It's inside me now. They gave it to me, and now I must give it to you." A deep humming sound filled the air. The ship began to shake. "We need to get out of here," one of the team members shouted. They carried Elena out of the frozen wreck and back to the Falcon. As they lifted off, a strange pattern began to form in the snow below. Perfect circles, glowing lines, like writing. Elena watched from the window, her face calm. "This is just the beginning," she whispered. "What do you mean?" asked the science officer. "They are coming, and this time, no one can hide." Back on the space station, Elena was taken to the medical center. Doctors ran tests. They didn't understand what they found. Her blood was different. Her cells had changed. Her brainwaves showed patterns not seen in any human before. "She's more than human now," one doctor said. Commander Harris stood outside the glass window watching her. He remembered the woman she used to be, a brilliant scientist full of questions, always searching for truth. Now she had returned with answers no one was ready for. Inside the room, Elena sat alone, her eyes closed, her hands glowing softly, and, in a voice only she could hear, the message repeated, The trial is coming. Prepare them. The silence between stars, the space station orbited quietly above Earth, floating in the endless dark like a forgotten god. Below, cities blinked with lights, unaware of the silent warning now sleeping inside their sky. But deep inside the station's medical wing, Dr. Elena Ward was wide awake. She sat on a hospital bed, perfectly still. Her skin looked normal now, but the doctors had already seen it. The light, the symbols, her blood that didn't behave like human blood anymore. Cameras watched her. Guards stood outside. No one trusted her. Not yet. She hadn't spoken in hours, until suddenly, she stood up. I need a pen, she said calmly. You should rest, replied the nurse nearby. No. I need to write, before it fades. The nurse hesitated, then handed her a small digital tablet. Elena's fingers moved fast. Symbols, shapes, lines that curved like vines, patterns that made no sense, except to her. In another room, Commander Harris watched through a monitor. Beside him stood Dr. Malik, the station's chief science officer. Malik had been a student of Elena's once, years ago. Now he was the only one who believed her. She's writing again, Harris said. It's a code, Malik replied. Maybe a language. I've never seen anything like it. And you believe it's real? I think she's trying to tell us something. Or, it's all in her head, Harris muttered. Then why is the moon blinking? Harris paused. What did you say? Malik pointed to the screen behind him. Live satellite feed. The moon, slow and steady, pulses of light glowing near its surface. Tiny. Rhythmic. It started 2 hours ago, Malik said. Same time Elena started speaking. Coincidence? No. Connection. Hours passed. Elena wrote pages of symbols. Then, without warning, she collapsed. Her body hit the floor, twitching. Alarms rang. Doctors rushed in. She screamed, but not from pain. Her voice echoed through the walls. They are watching. They are listening through the silence. And then she stopped moving. Her pulse was strong, her brain active, but she wouldn't wake up. 3 days later, in a hidden lab on Earth, top-level scientists examined her drawings. Artificial intelligence was used to find patterns. Nothing worked, until one small section decoded itself into a message. Humanity will be tested. She passed. Now, it is your turn. The room went silent. A new order was given. Prepare for threat level unknown. Meanwhile, deep inside Elena's mind, she was somewhere else. A black sky stretched above her. Stars blinked, then vanished like dying candles. Around her stood tall beings, shadows with eyes like stars, shapes always shifting. They spoke without mouths. You saw what they could not, they said. You understood what they feared. We gave you part of us. Now show them, or they will burn in their own fire. Elena looked down. Her hands were glowing again, but this time, something inside them moved, like liquid light. They won't listen, she said. Then they will suffer. Back, in the medical wing, Elena woke with a loud gasp. The lights flickered, machines sparked. Her eyes flashed blue. Everyone in the room stepped back. You left, whispered the nurse. Where did you go? Somewhere between time and memory, she replied softly. They showed me what's coming. What do they want from us? Nothing. Nothing. They don't want war, they want understanding, survival, but first they need to know if we deserve it. That same night, a strange event happened across Earth. In 10 cities at the exact same moment, all the clocks stopped. In Tokyo, a baby born during that second had eyes that glowed. In Egypt, an old man dreamed of symbols, the same symbols Elena wrote. In New York, radio towers picked up voices speaking in a frequency no human had ever used. Across the world, people whispered the same phrase in their sleep. She is the signal. Follow her. Governments panicked. Who was she really? Commander Harris had no more doubts. He called a secret meeting with Earth's council. This is not just science anymore, he said. This is survival. Survival from what? A councilwoman asked. I don't know, he answered. But Elena does, and we need to listen before it's too late. Back in her room, Elena stared out the window. The stars looked different now. Closer, sharper, as if space itself had moved. Dr. Malik entered quietly. They want to speak to you, he said. The world's leaders. They're ready to listen. She turned, her eyes calm but powerful. Then they should know, she said. This world is not alone. We were never alone. So why now? Why appear after all? This time? Because the silence between stars is over, Elena said. And something is waking up. A low hum began to rise from the floor. The lights turned red. A voice echoed from the ship's AI system, never heard before. Unknown transmission detected. Source inside the moon. Message repeating, trial begins in 6 days. The first whisper. The world didn't sleep anymore. After the transmission from the moon, fear spread like a virus. Governments tried to hide it, but the people already knew. Something ancient had awakened, and it wasn't human. They called it the whisper. A signal soft as a breeze, yet heard in every mind, every machine. It didn't speak in words. It spoke in feeling, a deep pressure in the soul, as if something massive had turned its eyes toward Earth. And it was waiting, in the sky above. The space station shook with tension. More ships arrived, more soldiers, more scientists. The station had become the center of the storm, and in the middle of it all sat Dr. Elena Ward, no longer a missing scientist, now something else entirely. Inside a sealed observation room, she sat alone, staring at the stars. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep. Her body was changing. Light beneath her skin, veins glowing faintly, eyes reflecting distant galaxies. Dr. Malik entered, holding a tablet. He placed it on the table. We recorded another whisper last night, he said. Same energy pattern, same strange language. What does it say? Elena asked, without looking. Malik hesitated. We translated 3 words. Say them. Remember your blood. Elena slowly turned toward him. They want to see if we remember who we are, she said. Not just what we've built, but what we've lost. Down on Earth, strange things were happening. In Antarctica, explorers found a perfect circle of melted ice, miles wide, with alien markings carved into the ground. The ice had never melted there, not even in the hottest summers. In India, a monk walked into a temple and began chanting words in a language no one knew. Later, they discovered those words matched Elena's symbols exactly. In Brazil, a boy touched a dying tree. It bloomed instantly, glowing with silver leaves. He didn't know why. He just said, "It told me to." Meanwhile, world leaders gathered in a hidden underground facility. Tension filled the air. We need to prepare for war, said General Stone, his voice loud and cold. Whatever's coming, we need weapons ready. And fight what? Asked a diplomat. A whisper? Glowing symbols? We don't trust this woman, Stone growled. She's one of them now. She's not the threat, said a quiet voice. It was Commander Harris, now working directly with Elena. She's the warning, he said. Back on the station, Elena stood in front of a glass wall, watching the stars. Malik joined her again. Do you remember everything, he asked. Not everything, she replied. Only what they allowed me to bring back. Why you? Why not someone else? Because I chose to stay when everyone else ran. Flashback, 7 years ago, Varela 7, Elena's old team had been digging near the polar ruins, unknown structures buried under ice for centuries. They found symbols, sounds, energy readings no one could explain. Then the storm came. People vanished. Machines stopped working. The snow began to speak, voices inside the wind. They were tested, and Elena was the only one who answered correctly. How? She simply listened, present. The trial isn't just some alien test, she told Malik. It's personal, for every person on this planet. It's not about power. It's about memory, choice, truth. Malik nodded slowly. So what happens if we fail? She looked him in the eyes. Then this world resets, wiped clean, returned to silence, like the others before us. Others? We're not the first, she said. Just the next. That night, Earth's sky changed. Millions saw it. A second moon, faint, ghost-like, hovering beside the real one. Not solid, like a projection or a shadow, but it pulsed in sync with the whisper. People panicked. Others fell to their knees. Religions clashed. Governments split. And yet, a small group began to follow Elena's message. They called themselves the Remembered, those who believed that hope was hidden in the truth. Meanwhile, Elena began her real work. With Malik's help, she activated an ancient device buried in her own DNA. It was a key, biological, cosmic, alive. When triggered, it created a light that shot out from the station, past the moon deep into space. What did you do? Malik gasped. I answered them, Elena whispered. I said we are listening. And what if they don't like what they hear? Then we never had a future anyway. Down below, all over Earth, machines stopped. Digital clocks reset. Watches ticked backward. In one village, a man blind from birth opened his eyes and saw only stars. In another, an old tree cracked open. And inside it, they found a stone heart with markings glowing faintly. The world was beginning to remember, and the first whisper had become a roar. Final scene, a secret military base deep under the ocean. Scientists gather around a black cube that had never responded. Before now it hums and then it speaks. Not in sound, but in every mind at once. She has awakened the gate. Now show us your worth. The hidden code the world was changing, but no one could agree on how to respond. Some said it was a spiritual awakening. Some said it was alien invasion. Others believed it was the end of time. But for Dr. Elena Ward, the truth was far stranger than all of them combined. She wasn't just carrying a message. She was the message, and buried deep inside her, encoded in her memories, her blood, and her dreams was the next step. A map. In the skies above Earth, the second moon still hovered like a ghost. It cast no shadow. It made no sound. And yet, it had begun to move. Slowly. Closer. Governments panicked. Leaders argued. Conspiracy groups claimed it wasn't a moon at all. It was a machine, a watcher, a key. And they weren't wrong. On the orbital station, Dr. Malik stood in front of a giant screen showing global activity. The data was chaotic. Magnetic storms, frozen clouds appearing over deserts, deep-sea creatures surfacing in glowing blue, human minds sinking in their sleep. This isn't random, Malik said to Commander Harris. It's a pattern. Like the Earth is responding. To what? To her. In a sealed lab, Elena lay connected to a neural decoder. The machine was trying to read her subconscious, pull out anything that could help. Suddenly her body tensed. Her mouth opened. She spoke a language no one could understand. Her heartbeat synced with the hum of the second moon. Then, her hand lifted on its own. It moved across the table, drawing something in the air. A map, but not of the sky, of Earth. Within hours, a team was sent to the location she marked. A remote valley in Greenland, covered in ice for thousands of years. Beneath the ice, they found a structure, not man-made, a spiral of stone and light, humming with unknown energy, older than any civilization. Inside was a single object, a cube, floating, turning slowly. The team touched it, and in an instant, they were gone. Not dead, not missing, just removed. Back on the station, Elena gasped and sat up. They found the echo key, she whispered. Malik stared at her. What's the echo key? It's the memory of Earth, she said. What we were, and what we could be. It shows who we truly are when no one is watching. And if they see something they don't like, then the trial ends before it begins. Across the globe, people began seeing visions. At night, in dreams, they walked through ruined cities made of glass and light. They heard voices whispering from stars. They felt memories that didn't belong to them. Children began drawing symbols without knowing why. Ancient caves lit up again, glowing with patterns no human had touched in thousands of years. And every time, one phrase repeated: "Find the gate." The world split. One side followed Elena. They believed she was the bridge between worlds. They saw the signs, the connections, the warnings. They called themselves the Linked. The other side feared her. They believed she was infected, dangerous, a tool of something beyond comprehension. They wanted her locked away, or worse. Tensions rose. In one city, riots broke out after a public speech about the trial. In another, a young girl cured her dying father by touching his chest. Scientists couldn't explain it. The energy was the same as the symbols on Elena's skin. The line between science and myth began to blur. Inside the hidden valley, the echo key began to glow. Above it, a portal formed, not a hole in space, but in time. The first team reappeared. They had not aged, but they were changed, silent at first. Then one of them spoke. "We saw what comes after, and now we can't go back." When asked what they saw, they gave only one answer: a world without choice. Only obedience. Unless we unlock the gate. Elena was taken to a new chamber, deeper within the station. There she faced the echo key, brought back for her. As she stepped near it, the cube floated faster. Symbols covered the walls. The second moon pulsed. Then the cube opened. A beam of light shot into Elena's forehead. Visions exploded inside her mind, cities collapsing, skies turning red, a dark figure standing above Earth, offering a hand. And then, a question. Not in words but in feeling. What will you give up to save them? She fell to the floor, screaming, but when she stood up again, her voice was clear. "The gate is beneath us," she said. "Not in the sky, not in the stars. The real gate is inside this planet. It's been waiting." "For what?" Malik asked. "For us, to remember who we are, before we destroy everything again." Ending scene. In the deep ocean, near an ancient tectonic fault, a satellite detects something enormous waking up. The second moon pulses once more. A new whisper is heard. The gate has been found. Humanity has one choice left. The trial begins. For centuries, humanity had looked to the stars, searching for signs of life. But now the stars were looking back, and they were asking one question: "Are you worthy of your own future?" The echo key had opened the first gate, and Earth had begun to shift. Not all at once, not in fire and explosion, but in whispers, in pressure, in cracks beneath reality. In Africa, rivers that had been dry for decades began to flow again, but the water glowed faintly blue. Animals gathered near, silent, as if waiting. In China, entire power grids failed, but no one panicked. Why? Because during the blackout, people heard music, soft, calming, as if the earth itself was breathing. In Italy, the Vatican's hidden vaults unlocked themselves. No keys, no codes, just light. Inside, scrolls written in the same language Elena had spoken in her visions. On the orbital station, Elena stood before a room of world leaders, projected as holograms from every continent. Her face was calm, but her voice carried something deeper than fear. "This is not a war," she told them. "This is not an invasion." "Then what is it?" asked a general. "It's a reflection," she said. "We are being shown who we are, and asked if we can change." By who? By the ones who came before. By the architects of life itself. Why now? Because the gates don't open. Twice. Below on Earth, chaos had begun to bloom. Not from violence, though some of that came too, but from uncertainty. People began to dream the same dream. A mirror that showed them not their face, but their truth, their choices, their lies, their guilt, their love. Some woke up weeping, others couldn't speak for hours. In major cities, statues began to crack open, revealing crystal shapes hidden inside for thousands of years, older than known civilization. And always, near these strange events, someone would hear the same words. In their mind, "This is your trial. Choose well." In a remote desert, a massive sinkhole opened. Beneath it, a buried city, unknown to any history books. The walls pulsed with light. The same symbols again. A team went in. Only one person came out. A woman. Silent, glowing. She said just one sentence. "They failed. We must not." On the station, Dr. Malik was running out of time. Every hour, the patterns around the second moon changed. The energy readings were rising. And now, a timer had appeared in the sky. Not in the clouds, not on screens. In the sky itself, a countdown. Days. Hours. Minutes. The trial had officially begun. Elena gathered a small group. Scientists, empaths, soldiers, translators, and 3 children who had all spoken alien languages in their sleep. She called them the carriers. "The gates will test us in stages," she said. "Not just as nations, as people, as hearts. The first trial is unity." "How do you test unity?" Malik asked. "You break it, and see who puts it back together." Across the world, communication systems failed. But not randomly. Each region could only speak to one other region, forcing enemies to work together, strangers to cooperate, rivals to listen. India and Pakistan, Israel and Iran, China and Taiwan. Messages were shared, not orders, not threats, questions. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you want to become? Some laughed, some refused, but others responded, and something incredible began to happen. The weather calmed, the sea levels lowered by an inch. Birds returned to cities, and in the sky, the second moon pulsed. Once, softly. But not everyone wanted peace. A rogue group of world leaders, calling themselves the Preservation Council, believed Elena was manipulating humanity. They wanted to destroy the gates, stop the messages, control the trial. "If we pass their test," said their leader, "we'll be nothing but pets. I'd rather be a lion in ruins than a slave in paradise." They launched a missile toward the second moon, and the moon responded. Not with fire, not with sound, with memory. Every person on Earth suddenly saw the same vision. Earth burning, cities gone, children crying into ash. Not just future, a possible future, a warning. The missile turned to dust mid-air, and the world fell silent. That night, Elena wept for the first time. Not from fear, from hope. "They're giving us a chance," she said. "They want us to see what happens if we choose the path we're already on. And if we turn back, then the gates stay open, and we walk forward, not as rulers, but as students." "What's the next trial?" Malik asked. Elena looked to the stars. "Truth," she whispered. "The second gate shows us the lies we've lived with, and not all of us will survive it." A child in Africa points to the stars and says, "They're getting closer." In a forgotten temple, a stone door opens for the first time. Inside, a glowing mirror. In New York, a woman writes a letter in her sleep. It's in Elena's language. She's never heard of her before. The countdown hits 5 days. The sky ripples. A final whisper passes through every soul on earth. Truth is the fire. Step in, or be burned away. The collapse and the climb, the countdown reached 5 days. The world didn't end, but something inside it did. Truth had arrived, and it did not knock. It broke the door. It began with whispers in mirrors. People across the planet began seeing themselves, but not as they were, as they used to be, or might have been, or feared they had become. A mother in Japan saw her reflection cry for help, whispering the name of a child she never told anyone she had lost. A soldier in Russia watched his own face morph into the man he once killed, asking, "Was I ever really your enemy?" A politician in America looked into a mirror and saw a younger version of himself, breaking a promise that shaped a nation. For a moment, every lie told became visible, and the world gasped. The second gate had opened, not on Earth but within it. A massive rift cracked open deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Sensors recorded something ancient pulsing beneath the tectonic plates. Not metal, not stone. Thought. The Earth itself was remembering, and it was asking humanity to do the same. But truth is never quiet. Truth demands to be faced, and truth, like fire, burns. On the orbital station, Dr. Elena Ward sat alone in the observation deck watching the second moon pulse. Her body trembled, not from fear, but from the pressure of memory pressing against her mind. "They're not just showing us what we are," she whispered. "They're showing us why." Commander Harris and Dr. Malik stood nearby, watching her. "What happens if we can't handle the truth?" Harris asked. "Then we fracture," Elena said. "We break apart from within, not by force, by regret." "How do we survive that?" Elena looked at him. "We don't. We have to become something new, or we die holding on to who we were." On Earth, the effects grew stronger. Ancient burial grounds began to glow. Dreams turned into shared experiences. People woke up speaking languages long lost to history. Old friends remembered betrayals. Leaders exposed their own secrets in public, not because they wanted to, but because they couldn't hold them in anymore. The planet had become a confessional, and not everyone could take it. Suicide rates spiked. Riots erupted in cities. Entire towns went quiet overnight, not destroyed, just silent, as if everyone had seen the same thing and agreed not to speak of it. In one forest in northern Canada, trees bent toward the ground, forming perfect circles. Inside the largest ring, a figure appeared, Elena's twin or someone who looked like her. Scientists recorded her for hours. She didn't speak. She only mouthed the same 3 words. "We were warned." Elena fell into a coma again. This time, it wasn't just a dream. She was taken into the memory layer, a space outside time built by the architects where every decision humanity ever made lived like echoes. She saw it all, the wars, the discoveries, the betrayals, the kindness, the lies passed down like history, the truth buried like trash, and she heard a voice, not angry, not cruel, disappointed. "We gave you the stars, and you built cages. We gave you thought, and you used it to forget. We gave you memory, and you burned your past. Why do you deserve a second future?" Elena stood before them, the observers, made of shifting light, galaxies for eyes. "Because we finally remember," she said. "And memory is the first step to change." They did not answer, but the trial continued. When she woke, something had changed in her. Her voice echoed slightly when she spoke. Her hands glowed when she touched metal, and her presence calmed those around her, as if truth bent around her instead of breaking people. "You passed the memory layer," Malik said. "Not me," she replied. "Us. Everyone who survived their own truth. They passed too. What now?" Now comes the climb. The final stage of the trial had begun. Those who faced their truth and survived were now able to feel something new, a kind of pull toward the climb. Ancient locations across the world, temples, mountains, ruins, began to shift, revealing stairways and chambers once sealed by time and silence. These were the climb points and places where humanity would rise not in power, but in understanding. Each climb point tested something: forgiveness, unity, courage, surrender, memory, sacrifice. People began their climbs, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Those who succeeded found strange symbols marked into their skin. Those who failed simply vanished, leaving behind only light. Governments couldn't control it. Armies couldn't weaponize it. This was no longer about control. This was evolution, but of the soul, not the body, and Alina was the first to reach the final climb point. Not a mountain, not a tower, but a mirror, larger than a city, buried beneath the ice of Greenland. It reflected not her body, but her truth, all of it. And for one terrifying moment, she saw herself, as the observers saw her, small, afraid, broken, but trying, always trying, and that was enough. The countdown reaches 3 days. More gates appear. One floats in orbit beside the second moon, shaped like a spiral star. People begin glowing at random, the chosen or the ready. Across the sky, in every language, one message appears. The climb is not the end. It is the test before the last door. Be ready to choose. The choice, the countdown, reached 2 days. The world was no longer what it had been. Cities stood still, not in destruction, but in reflection. Wars paused. Religions fell quiet. Leaders stepped back. The sky itself had changed. The stars no longer blinked at random. They watched. The gates were fully open now, 8 in total, 1 for each trial humanity had passed. Unity, truth, memory, surrender, compassion, courage, balance, and finally, choice. But no one knew where the 9th gate was. The final one, because it didn't exist in space, it existed in someone. Dr. Alina Ward stood alone at the northern climb point, a glowing spiral tower surrounded by ice and wind. Her body was different now, light beneath the skin, thoughts like music and memory stretching across lifetimes. She was no longer just a woman. She was the messenger. But even she did not know how it would end. Behind her stood the people who had made it through the trials, not many. Barely a few thousand across the planet. Some were children. Others were scientists, nurses, farmers, former soldiers, dreamers. These were not the strongest. They were the most honest. And they were waiting. On the orbital station, Commander Harris and Dr. Malik watched the second moon open like a flower, revealing something inside. Not a weapon, a seed, floating in an orb of golden light. A Genesis core, Malik whispered. A new Earth waiting to be planted. But who decides if we get it? Harris asked. Malik stared at the feed. She does. Alina. No. Humanity. At exactly 0. You're on the countdown. The final trial began. Not with sound, not with light, but with a question whispered into the mind of every living human on the planet. Do you believe humanity should survive? And then, would you sacrifice yourself to let them? The trial was not asking for votes, it was asking for a gift. People collapsed, sobbing, screaming, silent. Across the world, the air grew thick. Memories came back that people had buried forever. Failures, regrets, pain, but also forgiveness, love, hope. In small towns, people began lighting candles, not for protection, for clarity. In prisons, inmates confessed secrets they'd carried for decades. Some were forgiven. In broken homes, fathers hugged children they hadn't spoken to in years. The trial wasn't testing our technology. It was testing our hearts, and the final gate began to form in Alina. Her body lifted off the ground, not flying, rising. Light poured from her chest, her voice, her memories. The observers watched, silent, waiting. They won't make the choice for us, Alina realized. They want us to choose. Choose what? Asked Malik over the communicator. Who we become. But how? And then, she understood. By choosing each other. The seed above the second moon pulsed. Once a voice, not human, not alien, and pure meaning. A single choice must be made. Sacrifice one to save all, or save one and let all return to silence. The world froze. A sacrifice. People panicked, argued. Some said, kill Elena. She was the key. Others said, protect her. She was hope. Some said it was a trap. Some said it was prophecy. But no one expected what happened next. In a field near the Amazon rainforest, a child no older than 6 stepped forward. She looked up at the sky and said, I choose me. She placed her hand on the ground and glowed. Her body became light, then memory, then pure will. And the second moon pulsed again, across the planet. Others followed, dozens, then hundreds, not forced, not asked. They simply gave 1,000 humans, no more, chose to sacrifice their place in the new world, so the rest could rise. Their names burned into the sky. Their final thought echoed into every heart. Let them try again. Elena wept as the final gate formed, not in the sky but inside every living human. They had passed, not through victory, through choice, the choice to let go, to forgive, to rise without forgetting where they had fallen. The observers opened the core. It fell from the sky like a star reborn. It did not explode. It planted itself into the heart of the earth, and the planet began to change. Oceans calmed, air cleared, languages merged. The gates closed, not to seal, but to sleep. Their job was done, and for the first time in thousands of years, Earth was quiet, not in fear, in peace. Year later, the skies had never been bluer. Energy came from light, not oil. Wars were studied in books, not lived. Truth was no longer hidden. It was shared, because it no longer scared people. And in the center of the world, beneath a tree made of crystal and memory, stood a statue of Dr. Elena Ward. Not because she saved the world, but because she helped it remember how to save itself. And engraved beneath her name were 5 simple words: she chose to believe again.